Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and I apologize for the clutter, and I wholly blame Adamant Arsenal. So recently, Adamant Arsenal had a really successful Kickstarter for their Valiant and the Vial. An example of the Vial, and the Valiant, at least of my painted samples, which were all sorts of modular knights, knightly knight types, of both good and evil and absolutely mutated varieties that were super modular and had tons of options. And well, that's what Adamant Arsenal has just decided to unleash upon our printers and tabletops with their new Rock and Ruin. So this is all clutter, scatter terrain, and you see some bits here on some of the bases. And I gotta say, I was pretty impressed with this because for me, this is a godsend. I can't stand coming up with interesting base ideas. I suck at it. I'll wholly admit it. I tend to just throw a bunch of sand, paint it, dry brush it, call it a day. That's me. I don't come up with cool, interesting ideas. I'm just lame like that. But whenever I find little bits like this, or really nice custom scenic bases, I love this stuff. Maybe sometimes I'll see a bit on a scenic base that works for me, and I can't really, I'm not going to destroy the base just for a single part. But with the clutter scatter terrain, I think scatter is the correct term. I don't know what I'm talking about with this clutter. I'm just making a cluttered mess here because I keep grabbing it and I keep printing it and more and more and more. And there's all tons of these variations. But I've had a pile of vile knightly knights sitting around waiting to get finished. So you can see we've got one of the spare bodies here with a multitude of worms coming out of it. And like I said, these are really fun modular bodies that, with the ball jointed parts here, can take all kinds of either good guy or bad guy weapons. And there's even some of the multi-part bodies for the hero types as well, along with their ridiculous and interesting weapons. So I was meaning to put these together. Adamant Arsenal started a new campaign for their nice scatter terrain, and I gotta say, some of these bits are really of interesting, nice size. So much so that I think you can go ahead and probably turn some of these into various, victory point type objective markers, whatever have you. I like the geode thing. I probably won't be able to paint it decently. And again, some of these are quite large little decorative pieces. Of course, you see this pair of feet right here. This actually belongs to one of the golem models that was also part of the Valiant and the Vial. For the Vial golems, they're these big kind of undead amalgamations, with or without armor, chained up with a variety of interesting bits, which we'll show you in a sec. But one of the coolest I thought was, so we have a basic torso for the golems. And we're going to build them, obviously, and show you guys everything. Then you have your options of interesting, blade arms. Again, just as modular as the previous release. Great swords, or saws. Multi-part scythes that insert together, so you can have him dual-wielding it, or go one-handed. There is an option for both. But I thought what was the coolest part, there's a bunch of different capes and cloaks to stick on the back. And yes, I can see I need to do more support removal, but you know what? For purposes of this video, it's absolutely fine. We'll clean those up. Giant shields. And bell maces. Fun stuff. And the heads are just as bizarre as everything else. We've got golem-like skulls. That's a bit more basic, but a murder of crow heads. I thought that was a unique one. Some typical skull heads. And I thought, since I'm going to build these guys anyway, why don't I go ahead, let's put a bunch of them together. And I mean, I'm not kidding. This is just a sample of my stash of parts that I've been meaning to get around to for these guys. Great swords, various blades, giant shields. So I'm going to take a bunch of these Rock and Ruin pieces. I mean, look at these. These are like perfect objective markers. I'm going to add a bit of ambience. But I'm going to go ahead, and all these guys I end up building, we're going to put some of these decorative bits. I'm going to go ahead and throw some sand on there, get it all glued down, and show you how they look. Basic bases versus fabulous bases, right? So excuse me while I have to clean up my mess, and let me show you what we can come up with. So sit tight. So I built up a couple of the golems and some vile knights to show off, along with some of the rock and ruin pieces. And I really got to reiterate that some of the larger pieces make great terrain and objective markers. I wouldn't cram as many as you could possibly onto one base, but there's like all these funky like bone totems and stuff. And I think those pieces in particular would be a lot of fun, along with all the various rock formations. I'm desperately searching for a model to show. There he is. So in terms of just like basic pieces, these are some of the larger pieces in the set. I went ahead and went hog wild, just gluing stuff onto the, I don't even know what this is. Oh, it's like a pair of hands praying that have been lashed together. There's some crazy totems here. Again, I think I showed this one, but I really like this. I have a couple of these printed, just these rock formations with candles on them. So I think judicial use of these larger little scatter pieces would be great, like I said, for objective tokens. For some of the larger models, so like, here's one of the golems that I've built so far. I didn't put any of the armor on them yet. Figured I want to get all the underneath bits prior to goofing around with that, but you can see here. So I started building. Now, obviously, I'm going to ignore the fact that the glue just exploded out there. Yeah, once I can put some sand on this, unfortunately, I got kicked out of the room that has all that because my wife was on a Zoom call with some friends of her family back in Japan, and I was in the way searching around for stuff. So she kicked me out of the room unceremoniously, but that's okay. I'm going to do my best to have some of these start showing up in, hopefully, a weekly painting progress video on a Monday. I don't know about this Monday, I can't guarantee anything, but within the next week or so before the campaign finishes. But definitely, I think once I've got a chance to put some sand on those pieces, it's going to work out a lot better. Grabbing our other golem here. Again, I didn't actually glue this on. That way, it's a lot easier. That one at least can just sit there. But I went ahead and armed him with a scythe and just a bunch of random bits. I do like there's a lot of these large flat pieces, so if you just have a lot of space, like I had on this guy previously, I could have put a bunch of little flat pieces just to kind of break up the monotony of the similar bases. So grabbing a few of the vile guys, and I gotta say, I love these things. These guys are nuts. Oh, this isn't the one that has all the swords stuck in his back. I don't even know how many variations, so I want to say this is like the most basic looking guy. I don't even know which head that is. They could come from either the hero set, the priest and mage set. You can see I threw on like a broken shoulder pad and geode and just a little lumpy rock there. He's got a nice little barnacle thingy or two. And a broken up shield with teeth. Maybe it's a mouth. It looks like it's kind of a mouth. And he has a mouth in his belly. Okay, sure, why not? I put all these guys on 32mm bases. This is an interesting one in that he has his face just squished into the top of that kind of stovepipe thing. Gave him a little totem there in front of him. A rock in the back. And he's got what looks to be some sort of octopus-like sentient rocket launcher. Is that an eye? It certainly looks like an eye. There's two of them. Yep. And all his fun little teeth inside his belly there. And a mantis arm, because why not, right? And I think that's, again, one of the coolest things about these guys have so many modular pieces that you could just keep going bonkers like I have, and you're not going to end up with too many repeats outside of the bodies. This is actually the same base body, they just have the variant bits coming out. Well, and a couple other little things here and there, but obviously they're quite different. His like weird pustule sword. Again, you can see once the sand and grits all over the base, I think these are going to look really nice with all of this, the little debris. I think that should hopefully break up the monotony of the standard base. And I know that Adamant Arsenal had actually mentioned trying to get a couple of sci-fi pieces finished up as well for that campaign. Again, just absolutely crazy mutations, if that's something that interests you. It's a lot of variety available. I think this came from the hero set. I'm not even sure. Somehow I squeezed him on a 25mm base. So the next few guys are actually from the Vile Heroes kit. Got kind of a demon head with a crown around it. Again, just due to the size of his shield, his capes, and that two-part torso. For whatever reason, this one didn't work out that well with me. Oh well, that's okay. We didn't have a lot of space for extra goodies. I know that's from the mage kit. I don't think the sword is. Flame thing coming out of his hand. Not that it matters, because the torsos and the legs from both the mage and the hero kits are totally compatible. And the heads. And the arms. And that is a very dark Soulsian looking fellow right there. Some kind of messed up priest. And I figure we'll use him as the boss. So, sword perched over his shoulder, big nasty mauled up blade. Didn't put anything in the back of him. But if you guys haven't had a chance to look, I mean, honestly and truly, I think this is one of those kits where I just get kind of addicted to printing stuff, and I can't stop. I'm like, uh-oh, you know, I had 2 extra pairs of feet and 1 of the wrong torsos and like 5 left arms and no right arms, so you know I'm going to end up printing a whole nother plate of stuff. And actually what's cool is I printed out an entire plate of the basing bits. I didn't even include them all. They didn't even all fit on one base, or one build plate. So there's a ton of different variety and variation. Hopefully, like I said, I'm going to try to get some of this stuff printed. It's late. Painted, so that I can show off to you guys and show you the results. Because I think just even a quick dry brushing on those bases, even if it means all I do is paint those bases, I think it's going to really help things pop and look different. Because I'll be honest, my bases, as I've said, are quite monotonous. Even my Adamant Arsenal stuff, it's always the same old, same old. Just grabbing whatever's handy. So I am absolutely looking forward to grabbing some of the models that I've got laying around that are in need of some variation. At least it's going to be new stuff. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel. Definitely take a look at Adamant Arsenal's latest campaign. Take a look through their My Mini Factory back catalog. There are all sorts of cool stuff to be had there. And if you're a fan of modular kits, chaos, or nightly nights to hopefully thwart them, you are definitely going to find a lot to enjoy. So definitely go check that out. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and I'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.